Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Locked On Lads TV, here for the ANZCAR Xfinity series for Thunder on Wednesday night. It is me, myself, Carl Wilkinson with you, doing my best Wilco cosplay I possibly can tonight. I'm being joined up in the booth tonight by Mr. Scotty Rankin. Scotty, how are you going, mate?
Yeah, I'm actually not too bad. Look, I was off in the middle of Germany, driving a German car around a German track that's quite long in nature. And then you pulled me out of that. Now I'm here in America at a very short track that's short in nature with short tempers.
Yes, it is a very short track indeed. We are at Martinsville. We are basically at a paperclip.
Yes, great for pulling your stationery together. Great for holding those files, those wads of paper together. But can the drivers keep their tempers together here tonight? Are they going to take the paperclip and maybe open it up a little bit? Twist the ends out, really destroy that paperclip? Are they going to keep everything together? Are they going to keep the car composed under themselves, much like a very well kept together stack of paper car?
Well, they're going to try and do their best, I hope. It is a really tricky one to get right here. Obviously, it is one of the shortest tracks we have on the calendar. Obviously, quite similar to the Colosseum, I guess you could say. In its length, it is pretty darn short, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and passing opportunities are few and far between. It's pretty much stick it down the inside, look after those tyres, keep your car down there, and stay out of trouble. 115 laps here tonight. Look, probably a little bit on the shorter side because obviously those tempers are going to get a little bit short, but Martinsville, it just conjures these images of drivers just losing their sensibilities a little bit. Drivers just maybe not considering that they're here racing to stay alive in the first half of the race. There's a lot of tempers. Martinsville, it is just that track. We've seen in terms of real life racing, this is the track where rivalry starts. Either here or at Bristol. Like, really, there's only two options. So look, I mean, honestly, my first time actually spectating an ANZCAR Martinsville race, but I have heard some things about ANZCAR Martinsville races, and, well, Carl, it's going to be a spicy night, to say the least.
Yeah, look, it gets pretty warm pretty quickly. I think this is your first ANZCAR commentary gig, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So welcome to the booth, finally. It's nice to have you up here. If you've never heard Mr. Rankin before, he is famous for many other series, and we have done much commentary together, from the Australasian Australasian series to Ozpass to much else, but he's much better on the track than he is in the commentary booth.
Well, I've seen myself drive, and that's not much of a compliment. If anything, that's saying, well, if my commentary skills are a lot worse than my driving, mate, maybe I do need to make sure I keep on to that day job, eh?
Oh, look, you're better at driving than I am, let's say that. So you're doing better than me. Alrighty, so qualifying is underway here at the moment. It is currently Hamish Gallagher in the lead. Lachlan Oakvio in second. He's been having a solid run on the short tracks recent, Lockie.
That says to me a lot of work on throttle control, brake, and rolling through the center of those corners, getting everything right. The benefit of short tracks is the corners come up a lot quicker, so you get a lot more practice at those ones. But obviously, the more corners, the more tire wear, the slower those lap times go. So a lot of it's Martinsville. The biggest thing that when you come to Martinsville is, first and foremost, qualify in an odd numbered position. That is step number one. The best position of those odd numbers ones to qualify in is that one with the big old number one on. So qualifying here is a big key to how you set that race up. From there, have a strategy in mind. When do I want to have tyres? What does the tyre fall off look like? Have that pattern in the back of your mind. Be thinking about it. Be conscious of what your decisions about when to push, when to be passive, when do you give, when do you take. That's critical about Martinsville. Fuel numbers, make sure you have those in the back of your mind. Is a splash at some point going to make sure that you get to the end earlier? You're going to see a lot of cautions tonight. That big old yellow flag, it's going to flap quite regularly. Is it Barney? Barney loves waving that thing around here at Martinsville Speedway. Timing of those cautions, absolutely critical. Get all those features right, you give yourself the best chance. But then, you got to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. Staying out of trouble is a really hard thing to do here at Martinsville. We saw it Monday night in the trucks. It was very tricky indeed, and I won't talk too much about that race because I'll probably swear a little bit. But quickly, before we go on, let's just quickly look at the championship. So it is Hamish Gallagher leading with 58 points ahead of Jaden Russell in second. Third place is Ruben Phelps, 62 points off the lead. 69 points down is Josh Micklemore in fourth. Fifth is Michael Skurlock, 71 off the lead. Sixth is Norman Clark, 92 off the lead. 105 down in seventh is Patton. 112 off the lead is Maddie Ray in 8th. 9th is Dave Douglas, 114 off the lead. And 10th is JCW Joshua Carroll Walden.
Yeah, look, and ultimately there's a lot of guys that I think are a lot further down that order. Raymond Yeager, I take a look at that name, that's P11, and you'd say, yeah, look, P11's actually probably not a bad start to the season, but I think he'd want a little bit more. Gary Wellman, another name I look at and I go, oh man, this guy really want to be performing maybe a little bit better than perhaps things have gone so far. Stephen Williams, another one. You know, these guys are really, really talented drivers. Maybe things necessarily haven't gone their way. And I'm actually talking about the qualifying, not the current point standings. I just realised about halfway through that. Yeah, that's talent.
Oh look, that's an easy thing to do. It's one of those nights you've just come off a long stint at the Nordschleife, come into a commentary booth. You're going to be tired. It happens.
And probably the most important thing is I've just gone ahead and had a look at our Facebook chat. Most importantly, we need to wish Ruben Phelps a happy birthday.
We do indeed, yes. I was going to actually get to that and then I completely forgot about it because I've got about 6 million things going on my screen at the moment. But a big happy birthday to Ruben Phelps tonight. Starting down in... Where did Ruben qualify?
P20.
P20. Yeah, so not the best birthday gift you could ask for, unfortunately for poor Rubes. But... as is motor racing, it can always improve from there. So he's going to hope for a slightly better night tonight in that car. So hopefully Ruben will get a nice run in the 06 tonight. But they are leading away now here for the Paperclip. Of course, 2 laps under the pace car to try and get some heat into these tyres.
Yeah, so that's it. First and foremost, get some heat in the tyres. Make sure that you're not squirrely. Make sure you settle in. Look after that right foot. You don't want to get too heavy on it. And then, when you go to use that left foot, or move the right foot slightly to the left, make sure you don't dive on that thing. Remember, NASCAR racing, it's all about looking after that right-hand set of tyres. If you get too aggressive with the hands, with the feet, you're going to have a bad night.
Yeah, that's it. The brakes are really important here. Getting the car turned in right as well. Obviously, it's a fixed setup as well, so you can't do too much tweaking, but you can change things, a couple of little bits and bobs like your brake bias and things like that, and that can make a big difference. Yeah,
most importantly out of that, it's the steering ratio. Drivers here will have a couple different options. Can run 10 to 1, can run 12 to 1, can run all the way up to 14 to 1. Going to want to stay away from the 16 to 1. That's just way too slow on the steering ratio. 14 to 1, you're not going to be able to catch the slides. You're going to be a little bit slow early on in the stint, so it's going to be about sacrificing for gain, as it always is in stock cars.
And we are green and away we go, and it is Gallagher in the lead. Getting a good start off the start line there for Hamish Gallagher. Have we got away clean throughout the field? It looks like we possibly have. It is a massive start down the field. 27 cars out here tonight. A lot of vehicles on track at the moment on this very, very short track.
And my biggest concern, the back of the field. Aaron Dillon's hard in the inside barrier. That's a rough start for him, and he's back in the barrier there again. That'll be night over for Aaron Dillon. Toes it back. No yellow, though. We're going to stay green.
We are still green here, so that is important. That is really, really important. Aaron Dillon just losing it. Big. They go 3 wide into the first corner. That is scary stuff. As Skurlock loses the rear end into Lurkio. Dan Brown, Skurlock goes, and the caution flag is out.
Yeah, I was wondering how long it'd take for that caution flag to kick in. A lot of drivers would be going in there. They might see a little puff of smoke, but that's about all they would have seen. Have a look at the rear bumper from Michael Skurlock. That thing has got a little bit of a kiss written all over that one. So he's obviously been giving a helping hand. But was that before or after the spin started?
Let's take a bit of a close look at that, see if we can catch that one. A little bit closer action there. So he's just got into that corner and the back end stepped out on him. He's lost the rear end there, unfortunately. And then I think it was Dylan O'Shea had nowhere to go. And that was that, unfortunately. Skurlock sort of got lucky in the fact it was a slow speed spin there, I guess. Just in the fact that there's not going to be too much damage to that car.
Yeah, look, and I mean, what did we say in the precast? It was that look, staying out of trouble is important. The worst part is, when you're up at the front end of the field, you've got to fight for every single position. You've got to try and stay down towards that low line. The low line here at Martinsville is so vital to keeping the car in position and potentially making up spots. Knowing when to surge, when to let that go, and when to get back out of it and get to the low line. On these restarts as well, absolutely critical. A, you're going to need a good jump. B, if you don't get quite a good jump, picking when to slot in beneath that car on the low line. That's critical. Sometimes you're going to roll out of that throttle pedal. You're going to touch the brakes just that little bit earlier to get to the bottom of the racetrack. That's how critical it is at Martinsville. You'll just give up one spot so you don't lose 5.
Yeah, look, if you get caught up on the outside, it can be really painful sometimes. You want to be on that concrete, little concrete edge on the inside. The marbles that build up on that outside as well are just terrible. Just looking at track temperature out there, relatively cool night as well, so that's going to be nice on the tyres. Of course, Martinsville tends to be a little bit rough on the old right front, doesn't it?
Right front, but also Xfinity Series cars as well. They hate their right rear. They chew that thing up, they spit it out. Well, Rubens Phelps would be hoping the right rear on his car is a bit like a birthday cake. Nice, sweet, looks after him. But for a lot of these guys here tonight, it's going to be one of those rock candies. It's going to be sweet for a few laps, and then it's going to become all bitter and crusty. It's really not going to work in your favor, and that's something you've got to prepare for. That's something you've got to prevent, and that comes all down to how you apply the right foot. It will matter how you apply your braking foot as well, but a lot less so. It's all about keeping the rear tires cool with not over-accelerating, but at the same time, you can't lose spots, so it's sort of this catch-22 where you're constantly trying to assess where you need to be.
Yeah, it's such a fine balance getting everything right in these cars, and it is, look, it's not an easy job, as you know, Scotty, like, having driven these things before, it's not an easy car to drive, and people, they often sort of look at oval racing, and it is that thing of, oh, well, you're just turning left, it's not that hard, is it? But there is so much involved in it. There is so much more to it, especially on a short track like this. It is so very technical. It's almost like a mini Monaco, just where you turn left a lot more.
Yeah, but the benefit here is that you can actually get cars side by side throughout the entire lap. Monaco, you really kind of can't do that.
That's true, actually, yeah.
I mean, especially if you took a stock car to Monaco, which I'd love to see that, but there would be no racing. It would be an exhibition lap only.
Oh, look, it sounds like a fun series to start up. Stock cars around the Azores as we go back to green flag racing. It is Hamish Gallagher getting a great launch away once more. The rest of the field trickle in. Josh Micklemore just sitting in just behind him with Jaden Russell at the moment. Douglas in 4th. Carol Walton 5th.
Impact. Dylan Shea.
Oh, O'Shea has gone round, and that is brought out the second caution for the night.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of back and forth like that. And Carl, you were talking about the Xfinity Series cars, the specific make and model of them. Lots of horsepower, very little downforce. That's the biggest fall down in these cars, is it's all on the driver. There's very little driver assistance. Stock cars, they don't have any driver aids. They don't have any traction control. They don't have any brake assist. None of those sorts of bits and pieces. It's all really old worldy. No real fiddling knobs. None of this.
What are you talking about, Scotty? They've got a big circular thing in the middle, and they've got these two things that you press on the floor. Those are your assists. Yeah, that's it.
It's all down to the driver. And of all the stock car series, none more so than the Xfinity series. They've got the least downforce and nearly the most power. The next gen series cars have just recently received an update that's actually pushed them away from a high downforce, high grip package. Oh, I saw that replay. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so that's that replay there. So yeah, it is sort of trying to go free wide there. Lachlan O'Quare caught up in that one as well. Not a huge accident though, so luckily nobody really got a huge amount of damage. But yeah, absolutely, these things, they have a huge amount of horsepower, as you said. 700 horsepower in them with very, they weigh a fair bit, of course. They're not exactly light cars, but
they've got none of this fancy two-way independent rear suspension.
No, that's it. That's the other thing about the Xfinity car, is it is basically a horse and cart style suspension, and that's advanced for it.
They took the ANZCAR car and they kind of trimmed out some of the asymmetrical qualities of it, and then said, yeah, we'll stick a Bender engine in it. That'll do. That'll make things better.
That'll work. She'll be right, mate. That's how you do it. Exactly. that is one of the big things about the Xfinity car. It's one of the things that people love about it. It is just such a beast, and it is just such a different car to drive, and it's heavy as well. That's the other thing. It's one of the other big things about it. It is very heavy, so the brakes, they're not exactly top-end brakes. Braking in these things is hard. It's
brakes. Wait! You call them brakes?
Well,
I thought there was slow assisted reduction in velocity things.
Usually these
circles.
Yeah, the driver just chucks an anchor out the back and hopes it stops the car. That's the easiest way.
Throwing an anchor out the window would actually work better than these brakes.
This is true, actually. As we get back to green flag racing, it is Gallagher leading away again. Wensley dropped the loud pedal. He does it now. Gets another nice restart there.
There's a big check up middle and back. I saw a couple of green cars really get checked up. The drivers right now, they're struggling actually to get formed up, and the drivers getting a rhythm. I think it was Cade Donnelly. It was Cade Donnelly in the last restart. I saw struggling on his first time entering into 1 and 2. He's done the same again here, but this time he's pinned on that outside line. I think he might lose his spot.
Yeah, that's just behind as well. I saw that was Raymond Yeager there, just having a little bit of a moment in the Pinnacle cars. It is tricky out there. These cars are definitely starting. It's just getting it up to temperature, getting it working. As I see somebody pulling into pit lane is ready. As we get somebody around, who's that? They just managed to save it, but the caution is flown. Greg Spencer, I believe.
I did see that one out of the corner of my eye. Hamish Gallagher, just prior to that caution coming out, was actually just set the fastest lap of the race as a 19.802. And when you compare that to his qualifying lap, that is actually only 11 thousandths of a second slower. So he's actually trying to push, trying to make sure he can hang on to that one. He's getting a little bit of pressure from Mickelmore.
So watch this from on board Michael Skurlock here. Greg Spencer in front of us here. This is the reason for the third caution of the night. Just coming a little bit hot. Greg Spencer breaks a little bit early, catches Skurlock out. He was trying for that high line and just catches the back of that car, and around Spencer goes.
Yeah, Skurlock's going to have to be very careful as well. That's potentially second caution on him. So he's running a very high risk very early in the race of suffering some significant penalties over the coming weeks if he's not careful. And he will have to be careful because, I mean, Skurly, he's got a strong championship hope. He's got aspirations of running really well all season long this year. And that'll play on your mind, and he'll be aware of that. Skurly's a very, very smart, very intelligent driver. He will know that he's got to gain places, but maybe it's probably time to just go into conservation mode.
Well, one of the other things is, especially in a race like this, is it's going to be penalty points. Obviously, you can only get 12 incident points, and then you have to do a drive-through. 16 and 17, sorry, yeah, and you get a black flag, and that's your race over and done with. And I think we've already lost, I think maybe Lachlan Oakyo, because he got caught in a couple of incidents early on. He got banged pretty hard. I think he might have actually hit his instant limit already, and that's a big shame because he was very fast out there tonight.
I actually don't have anything on Lachlan Oakyo. I think he was actually caught up in one of the early incidents. So iRacing actually made a really cool update whereby when somebody gets a flag, that flag now displays actually within the entries list. So I've had the ability to go back and have a look. There's no flag actually displayed there. I think that may have been damage related. He was, I think, involved in the first caution of the night, and I think it may have continued on from there. The other thing I'm noticing, Carl, when I have a look up and down the field as well, is that I'm seeing a lot of checkups, and what that says to me...
Just going back here, this is Lachlan Oakyo here, and... I think...
Yeah, so it's Oakyo that actually went to the pit lane, so he's actually removed himself from the race. Yeah,
and I think, as I said, I think he might have been on the limit of instant points as well, because I had 16 instant points on my little tracker up there.
So what I'd say there is he's actually pulled the pit lane to serve his penalty, because that has to be served onto green. So for the benefit of our viewers, you cannot serve an iRacing issued penalty whilst there is a yellow flag out. That penalty continually gets delayed until you go back green. Then you've got to serve it pretty much immediately. So he's pulled down to try and serve that penalty. As he has, somebody else wasn't aware of what he was doing, caught the rear end of him. That's pushed him to 1 instant point away from a DQ, and he's just gone, I'll save the time.
Yeah. That's what happened to me on Monday night in the trucks. Similar story, unfortunately, but we are back away. Green flag racing. Gallagher doesn't get quite as good jump this time. Micklemore getting a nice run on the outside. Jaden Russell keeping very close to him there. They're still battling away too wide further back. I just need to get into a rhythm now, start settling down a little bit in the mid-pack, and then hopefully we'll get some good clean green flag racing.
Keep your eyes just like a couple cars, 2 or 3 cars back behind these guys. Around Joshua Carrad Walden, Dave Douglas, Raymond Yeager. These guys are battling really hard right now. Keep your eyes on that 45 car. Actually, it might have been the 35 car, sorry, of JCW as well. A few guys are just really pushing the limits of how aggressive they want to be, and, you know, typical Martinsville style, a little bit of Morse code being hammered out in some rear bumpers.
Look, that's it. A little bit of rubbing and racing. That's it at Martinsville. But as I say, you just got to be cautious not to get too many of those little pings. As looks like Tristan Koch might have had a bit of an incident, but got it back going again. So no caution flag out. Hamish Gallagher does lead ahead of Micklemore and Russell, and they're starting to settle in a little bit into single file now. We've had a few cars come down pit lane and get some fresh. Some fuel for it at least. People like Kai Turner and people like that have just topped up on fuel. I think Mirko Dortnak may have taken some tyres as well towards the back of the field, so he could be trying something a little bit different. There is a limit of 4 sets of tyres tonight, of course, so you start on the set and you get 3 sets throughout the race.
Yeah, and again, it's so critical when you come down for those. You need to have a lap number in your mind. Now, having said that, if your fuel mileage here is about 40 laps, you might want to come down a couple laps early, get that undercut going on, because that's one of the best ways to make overtakes. Short track racing, it's all about getting the fresh rubber on the car. You want to be the first guy to make that last pit stop. You jump ahead of so many cars, it's so much easier to defend around here than it is to attack.
Yeah, very much so. It is very tricky to attack here at Martinsville sometimes. You can get it done if you've got the tyre advantage, of course. That does make a difference, and as is the way in oval racing, you know, when you've got that tyre advantage, it does usually help. But you've also got that slight different lines you can take sometimes. If you can force the driver to get up on that high line, if you can force them wide a little bit, you can force the overtake as well.
Something to keep an eye out is a few guys, you'll see them do what they call the diamond formation in the corner. What that means is...
Oh, who's that going around? Mirko Dortnak just going around there, and I think he's out of the race here, as I think the caution flag has flown as the 62 just losing the rear end, just loses the back end there in the Toyota. Big impact into the wall, and the yellow is out once more.
That's a heavy one. That's a dead engine. There is no hope for Mirko left after that one. Only a short track, but the problem is when you use brakes, you have to use the engine to bring the car back up to speed again. So yeah, race basically over.
Yeah, look, that is a painful one as well, and it just, you know, it hurts when the engine goes like that. So coming into pit lane, got Gary Wellman coming into pit lane at the moment. I think he's got a little bit of damage on the car, coming in to get some repairs done. Michael Skurlock as well, Tristan Koch. A few people just coming into pit lane right now. We're on lap 30, so still a long way to go in this race.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the strategy here tonight, which is exactly where we're about to be going. In terms of fuel mileage, I actually don't have a number for you. I don't have the data, so I really can't give you that. And I don't really think fuel is going to be the number that we're really looking for. 2 strategies. Number 1, come in early. You really want to use this opportunity to put a fresh set of rubber on. You want to try and create an advantage. If you're towards the tail end of the pack and you know you've got the speed to make up a few positions, come down now, grab some fresh rubber. Why do you want to do that? Well, it's going to set you up with a little bit of an advantage. The tyre fall off per lap here isn't major. These guys are going to have to pit at some point. The guys that are up front right now, they want to stay up there. They don't want to risk themselves by coming down for rubber. At some point, they're going to have to pit. At some point, they're going to have to throw that risk out there. They want the field to thin out a little bit, strategies to sort of play. They want the bulk of the pack to come down at the same time, so they maintain their track position. The guys that have pit right now, they're sacrificing track position for a long-term gain. They're expecting another caution here, maybe 10, 15 laps. Then they'll get the track position, so it's about sacrifice now for overall gain.
It is indeed, and just watching here, just on board with Tristan Koch as he exits pit lane. He just timed that one perfectly, I think, because I think he just snuck out just before pit road closed, because you see how close that pace car is to him. That was very lucky indeed. He almost lost a lap there, so good little sneak out by Tristan Koch.
Yeah, so something you can actually do at some of these, well, actually, you can do it at every track as well. The pit lane exit on iRacing, it closes. Provided you get out ahead of that pace car, that actually doesn't matter. The penalty for that, whilst the caution is still ongoing, is an end-of-line penalty. If you're coming out at the tail end of the pack anyway, you accept that penalty. It gets you a few extra seconds of damage repair on pit lane.
Does indeed. As we get back ready for green flag here. Where is Gallagher going to drop the boot? He drops it mid-corner. Oh, Micklemore loses the rear end there. That's a bad start for Micklemore. That's going to cause a big check-up. That's great news for Jaden Russell and Dave Douglas. Dave Douglas jumping on that opportunity.
Oh! That was hard into the barriers towards the tail end of the pack. I didn't exactly see
Raymond Yeager, I believe it was. Let's see if we can catch that one on the replay.
And it's all stemmed from this checkup at the front. Everyone's trying to get back to the pack. The guys that are further back in the pack, they don't see it. They don't see the car that's checked up. All they can see is the body of the car directly ahead of them. Raymond Yeager's got into that corner at that time, trying to fight for his spot, trying to hang on to some position, and unfortunately the car on his insides had to check up a little bit, caught a little bit of curb, got squirrely on the brakes. Yeah, you name it. He just slides up the track.
That is that. Unfortunately, Brad Fenley just catching Raymond Yeager there, just catching him in the inside, and that just a tiny little bit of movement, and that's all it takes here at Martinsville. That's why it's such a hard track to master, and look, it's one of those places that is really good when you get a good lap. You feel great. But when you're racing here, it is on the edge of your seat all night long because you know you're only seconds away from somebody else making a mistake and possibly costing you a race.
Not just a race, the whole evening, potentially a championship. Look, Martinsville's one of those make or break tracks. It really is. You don't have a middling night at Martinsville. You either have a great night, you're on the podium, you're in the top 5, car looks great at the end of the night, or you have a very bad night. You have a look at all 4 corners of the car after the race. They've all marked up. They've all got scratches on them. There's been a bingle just about most of the laps of the race. It is intense. For those of you who have ever driven in tracks on iRacing or just, a racing fan in general, something I compare it to is actually something like Road Atlanta, where there's a lot of quick, intense little sessions around the track where you're constantly under the pump. There's no braking time. There's no real brake for the drivers. They actually need these cautions to keep themselves going.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is it is constant. It is pretty much constantly turning the wheel. You'll have drivers actually putting the offset on there, so you actually have the wheel turning almost itself with the gear ratios just to help through the corners, because otherwise you're cranking the steering wheel so much at this place. It is a physical drive, and the other thing as well, it's the mental aspect as well that goes into it, because it is just constantly draining you.
Something else to start keeping an eye out for and sort of listening for as well with a few of these cars. With the Xfinity cars, as far as I'm aware, once we get to sort of a 20-35 green flag laps on these tyres, we actually start to get into a realm where they may need to shift. And that makes things a little bit more complicated, because the problem is, as a driver, you got to make this choice. Am I going to lose a little bit of pace, get back a little bit of consistency? I'm just going to be a slow out of the corners, stay in 4th gear. I'm going to shift down to 3rd. That means I'm going to get a little bit more torque, a little bit more drive out of the corner, but that means I'm also on the edge of generating wheel spin, rear tire heat. When it goes bad, it's so hard to get it back. So it's a lot of risk. Sometimes the game's worth it, particularly when you need to get an overtake done, but it's something to think about. Some of these drivers will have a plan in the back of their mind already. Yeah,
it can be a lot of risk with very little reward, unfortunately, as well. It's very easy to lose that rear end. And as you said, there's 700 horsepower going through the rear wheels here, and as these tyres get worse and worse, it gets harder and harder as we go back. Green flag is going to come out. When is Gallagher going to drop the hammer? When will it happen? He does it now, gets a good start again for Gallagher. Looks like they got away much cleaner this time. Dave Douglas going down the inside once again of Josh Micklemore there. Dave Douglas really trying to push that 10 up through the field at the moment. Joshua Carroll trying to follow him, can't quite make it. And there's a massive pack at the back. 3 wide down the back straight.
Dylan Shea's serving a penalty. So he's gotten a penalty at some point. That could be an incident point penalty. I saw a car at the tail end of the field also serving a penalty. So there's a whole bunch of drivers that are in a world of hurt right now. They're going to need cautions. They need lucky dogs, but that means they need to stay clean.
Yeah, that's the other big thing as well, is once you start racking up, once you actually get that drive-through penalty, it's so easy to get to a point. All it takes is one clout, and that is it. You have got your night over and done with. Your race is finished, because you're going to get a black flag and disqualified from the race.
Yeah, so it's going to be critical as well once these guys serve their penalties. Where do they actually come out on the track? Because if they come out directly ahead of Hamish Gallagher, he's not going to be patient. He's going to get his 9 on. If he doesn't get past lap traffic, all the guys behind him are going to start putting their nose on things, and there's a yellow again.
Yellow flag out again. What has happened here? Possibly.
Mid and tail end, I can tell you that much. I saw a car on the fence over in 3 and 4.
I think Matt Hunter, maybe Matt Hunter, Matty Ray involved in this one. We'll just go back and have a little bit of a look-see at this one. See if we can pick up what happened here. So, just on board with Matt Hunter at the moment. In the 48. Michael Scullock down the inside there. As...
I don't think that was it.
Oh, it was Matty Ray. It was in front. Oh, yeah, that's where it happened. So it was
secondary contact that turned him hard right into the barrier.
Noddy Tompkins, I believe. So yeah, that's what happened there. I'll just actually do the ugly rewind function quickly, just so we can go back and have a little bit of a closer look at that one. So yeah,
you're right. It is triggered by the car that's stuck up there 3 wide, lost a lot of momentum, and
yeah, looks like Noddy's just locked up going into the corner, unfortunately, and that is what's caused that caution to come out.
I'm wondering if he didn't grab a gear there. That looks like a downshift.
Yeah, it looks like that rear end really. He might have missed a gear, just slotted it. If he's using H pattern, for instance, it's very easy to accidentally put it in the wrong bit, and that will quickly ruin your night.
I'm gonna have another look at that. I think that was a downshift. If so, that starts to tell us a little bit about what's going to happen throughout the race as it goes. So it'd be interesting to see. I might have to listen on board to the leaders over the next sort of few green flag laps to see what they're doing as well.
Hopefully we get some good green flag laps so we can actually get a listen. As we are on lap 44 of 115 now, and this is gonna effectively play into this being possibly even a no-stop race, because you can keep it out there without changing tyres. A few drivers have come in, so everybody down from 13th onwards has come in for fresh boots, I believe. So they have got fresh tyres. So people like Gary Wellman at the moment has got fresh tyres on his car, but track position seems to be key at the moment. And if that's the case, then just sticking it out there might be the best option, and that might be what we see somebody like Hamish Gallagher doing tonight, trying to take advantage of that and seeing if he can actually get this one underway and possibly even get a victory without coming into pit lane.
I think he'll have to come. I really, even with a lot of caution laps, 115 laps, it's just too far. You'd need to run nearly somewhere in the realm of 60 to 80 caution laps to avoid that pit stop. So it can be done, but it's a very long way, and the tyres are really not going to be happy with you if you do that. So, I mean, there's going to be guys out there that will say, hey man, look, this is my opportunity to win the race. I'm going to play the strategy card. Let's have a go.
As we get back to green flag racing, the beautiful visage of Taylor Swift there from Hamish Gallagher's car. As we go back to live, you can hear the wheel spin as he gets off the line, and we are back to green flag racing here at Martinsville.
Yeah, look, he's got the T Swizzle on board. Maybe we'll call him the H Swizzle at nights out.
Look, he is a Tay-Tay lover. There's no bad blood between him and his teammates, and all of the other Taylor Swift puns that we can fit in as usual. Unfortunately, I'm too busy doing camera work tonight to actually think up the puns off my head. Dave Douglas again on Josh Micklemore. These two have been battling it out lap after lap. It's been great stuff. On board here from JCW watching this fight.
And this is important as well, because remember, this all stemmed from Josh Micklemore getting a really bad restart when Gallagher launched it off the middle of turn 4. He checked up, and all of a sudden Russell fires down the inside. Russell gets a spot away from him. And then that allowed Dave Douglas to get on through. Now he's getting assaulted by JCW as well, who's not going to miss out on an opportunity to overtake, and Finley feeds back into the pack.
That is exactly what you don't want to have happen. That was Fenley just coming out of pit lane after his penalty, and that caused a massive check up behind, and that really cost Josh Micklemore, because he's falling back behind Kay Donnelly right now.
Yeah, and remember what I said, so this all comes back to a one bad restart where he lost one spot. As soon as you lose one spot, you start going further and further back. His rear tyres were overheated. You had to check up there. He's just not been able to get back in line. However, if he'd actually restarted subsequently from that third position, he probably wouldn't have the spot back. That's just how critical it is to get to the bottom line.
Yeah, look, the bottom line is king here. It is a real key feature, and it's why they have that different material as well, the concrete material, because it's such a heavy braking zone. If it was just normal asphalt, it would just rip itself apart as well, which is just hilariously cool.
Well, okay, maybe the brakes do work well on these cars after all.
Yeah, it's the amount, the traction from the acceleration and the braking. If they just have normal asphalt down, it just rips it apart instantly, which is just hilarious. I love the fact that American tracks, rather than just making it slightly more suitable, making the car more suitable for the track, no, just screw it. We're just going to make the track just out of concrete, so you just can't rip it up. I mean, it works at Sebring, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, just keep repaving. There's a hole in the old airfield runway. No, just put a patch over that. That'll be fine. It's called character.
That's it. It's a very character-building track. Oh dear, Hamish Gallagher in the lead at the moment. He's got a great start with Jaden Russell. Him and Jaden Russell running away like scolded dogs at the moment, ahead of Dave Douglas in third position. He's got Joshua Carroll-Walden behind him with Cade Donnelly, Josh Mickelmore 6th, 7th for Raymond, Gary Wellman in 8th, 9th for Scullock, and Billy Hickey in 10th.
Yeah, so a few guys actually on the move trying to make their way back through here. Keep your eyes on Gary Wellman now. He's up behind Matty Raymond, and he's one of the guys furthest up on the freshest tyres. He pitted on lap 30, so not the most recent caution. The first guy to pit onto the most recent caution is actually Stephen Williams. Norman Clark sort of swirled up around a whole bunch of guys further back in the pack. He's in P18, but 3 guys ahead of him, 3 guys behind him. They've all come down for fresh tyres. It's a wonder that Norman actually didn't take that option.
Yeah, deciding to stick it out there. On with birthday boy right now, Mr. Ruben Phelps. He's currently up in 16th position. Now working his way up the field. Matt Hunter just in front of him. So he's going to want for a decent result tonight. Going to be trying it out as we go back. Caution flag is out again.
I don't actually see what's happened this time. Actually, I've got it. It's Noddy Tompkins once again.
So let's see what we can find here with Noddy. So, looks like him and Jamie Nankervis. Jamie Nankervis going down the inside, just catches Noddy off slightly. Noddy's just gone offline a little bit, and then loses it. And then is he going to lose it coming into this corner now?
You're going to have to wait a little while longer. He's actually on the outside when the rear comes away from him.
Okie dokie. So I think it might be coming up around about nowish, maybe?
Eventually. Just keep watching, it'll happen soon.
Yeah, it's look, the joys of replay function on this system. Sometimes it is it either works or it doesn't. But looks like that rear end's just going to step out, and by the sounds of it, that's what will happen here.
Well, it's the same issue he had earlier. I went actually back and watched that replay a few times earlier. He actually wasn't shifting, so that one was a little rear brake lock-up, so he's got a little bit too much rear bias. Alternatively, he's just getting on it too hard coming out of the corners. It's overheating the rear, so he's struggling to slow the car down. But yeah, it's effectively a loss of traction at the rear wheels again. So critically, under the current, it'll probably be this lap. No, next lap. It's just about here. I know what's here.
All right, we'll jump forwards instead of trying to find that.
That's still pit lane strategy.
Yeah. Because we've got some pit lanes coming in. So Gary Wellman. So everybody from P5 onwards has stayed out. P6 down have come into pit lane.
Yeah, so let's talk about these laps when these guys come in. So Gary Mickelmore, Gary Mickelmore, slap 2 guys together at the same time. That's what you're gonna get. The 88. The brain that don't work so good, wrapping its way around words. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These guys have got track position, but interestingly, one from among their number has actually opted to come down pit lane. That was, just having a quick look, it was Josh Mickelmore that's actually come down. He was going backwards, so his tyre condition was not good. He was going to be restarting on that outside groove yet again. He had to do something different. He couldn't afford to keep staying out because it wasn't going to work out in his favour. He's gone, I'm going to have to do this eventually, at some point. So let's come down now. Let's go, all right, I've got fresh tyres. These guys are now in a little bit of trouble. They've got to come after me because I'm going to have track position in those later restarts. This is a gamble. This is a tricky one. He's got to make some spots quickly here is the other key factor. Gallagher, he's not going to give up that lead. Are you kidding me? Gary Wellman came down on lap 30 with Michael Skurlock. Those two guys are sitting together on the track. They're the lead guys on fresh tyres. Lap 30, remember, that's critical. Stephen Williams, Matt Hunter, Ruben Phelps, Raymond Yeager, Tristan Koch, I believe it is, all came down lap 43, lap 44. They've got fresh rubber on their cars, so they definitely have fresher rubber, but not quite as good as the cars behind them. I think Gary Wellman's actually really well positioned here.
Yeah, I think Wellman might be in the box seat right now. He's got his teammate on the inside as well, and the Sim Boys like to race hard. They're well known for their racing hard of each other, but it could be an opportunity for the team if Donnelly just eases off a little bit. Could give Wellman the opportunity to get down on that inside as we go back to green flag racing right now, and Gallagher again gets a fantastic restart. Way like a scalded cat, but Jaden Russell is right on his outside trying his best to get that advantage done. Gary Wellman doesn't get the best restart on those fresh tyres. Donnelly in front of him with Joshua Carroll-Walden. Jaden Russell meanwhile trying to go for the lead. He's got that high side at the moment. It's Gallagher versus Russell. Gallagher on the inside, Russell on the outside, and it looks like Gallagher might just have it here. It is really close stuff. Russell is really trying his best right now.
And critically, on that restart, Michael Skurlock was on the low line. Even though Gary Wellman was ahead of him, Gary Wellman was starting on that outside lane. P6, Skurlock got by him. Stephen Williams is really pressuring him now. That's 15 laps difference between Wellman's tyres and Williams' tyres. Williams needs to get a move on because Micklemore is only 2 spots behind him as well on freshies.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and if we get a race that goes green to the end, I mean, that's a big if here at Martinsville, but this could be a really, really tricky one for those guys that stuck it out. They are going to start to struggle eventually. 65 of 115 right now. We are getting we're almost to that halfway distance. Doing maths on the fly, not a good thing for me to do, but we are getting towards that halfway distance right now. A multitude of different strategies out there now, which is always interesting because it really shakes up the race. Oh, who is that in the Pinnacle car going round? Greg Spencer, is it?
Well, now it's even trickier in terms of do you come to pit lane. We've only got another 16 laps or so since those last set of pit stops. So we actually did get a reasonable amount of racing here. This is the replay will tell the story.
That's Hickey, sorry. Greg Spencer, just a big impact between the two. Let's go back and see if I can actually get the right person this time. We'll just go from the outside. Where's Greg gone? Loses that rear end, unfortunately, and yeah, look, that's an unfortunate one. And good avoidance skills there. Did the right thing holding on the brake, of course. That's what we always say to people, just hold your brakes, because it's easier to avoid somebody than it is to just second guess them. The leaders have stayed out though.
Well, I mean, it's tricky. Like, it's too late to pit. You needed to pit, I think, during that last stop. If you're going to pit, you need to pit now, or else you're never going to get another opportunity to pit again. Have a look at Josh Micklemore's climb back through the pad. He's grabbed so many spots. He is so far up. He's the 4th guy on fresh tyres, and he's got the freshest tyres of a lot of them. Remember that. That's going to be critical. Ruben Phelps gave up a spot to him immediately right there. Critically for him, he's going to be starting on the inside lane this time by. He's going to have Stephen Williams on the outside row just ahead of him, who's going to be on the nearest fresh tyres. Yeah, look, there's a lot of stories that are about to sort of make themselves known, and I think if you're in, say, Dave Douglas, Joshua Carroll-Walden sort of seats, they've got the trickiest call to make. They don't have track position, but they also can't come now because it's a little too late.
Yeah, it's you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Almost, it is very tricky. So this is going to be a fascinating restart now. And it's getting spicy. This is what we love to see in a race, and it's this stage where it starts to get that little bit spicy. It starts to heat up that little bit. Hopefully we'll get a nice little green stint, at least 20 or so laps, and that could really change things up, because those guys at the front, their tyres are just going to start dropping off the cliff, I think, and then we're going to see people like Scarlett being able to take some different lines. We could see Wellman or Micklemore maybe moving their way up. Same with Wellman. I think Micklemore's got the freshest tyres, hasn't he, of anyone?
Yeah. Micklemore's basically got the freshest tyres. There might have been a few guys that come down under that, the most recent caution, or the current one that we're actually still under. So there's a few different ways that they could potentially go. Just having a look at lap times. At this point in time, Hamish Gallagher, he's actually most recent hot lap was a 20.044. So he's actually only lost about compared to his qualifying time. What's that, like two tenths, two and a bit tenths, 2.5 tenths from his qualifying time. So he hasn't lost a lot of speed. But you're right, it's going to start wearing away at him. The critical guys are the guys that's just behind him. The guys that have actually done a lot more fighting than Hamish Gallagher has. So Dave Douglas has been side by side with cars a lot of laps. JCW's been starting to do it. Kate Donnelly's been a lot of heavy racing for him. So his tyres are probably going to be the worst of the lead bunch as well. And he's the one that's most vulnerable here because he's got Skurlock on his outside.
He has. And pace car lights have gone out once more. It's going to start getting... Well, pace car is going to pull into pit lane right here. When is Hamish Gallagher going to start that car off? Will he go early? Will he go late? We're going to find out. Is he going to wait for the exit of the corner so he's got a straight run? He is indeed. Gets a nice drive off the corner. Russell loses the back end. Look at Dave Douglas. Those cars on those old tyres struggling.
Look at Skurlock. Skurlock's clear of Donnelly before he even gets to the corner. And that's with the outside lane struggling to get a good restart.
That's that importance of that little bit of extra grip.
Look at him now. Look where he's going to show his nose as well. He's just going to go straight down underneath JCW. JCW is at risk. Look at the switch. He has to protect the bottom.
Yeah, JCW really taking a defensive line on the bottom. He is defending with everything he's got right now. But Skurlock has that he can just position that car wherever he wants at the moment. Whereas JCW has that little bit of harder work to do. It's going to be much trickier for him to get that car in that right position.
Micklemore, keep your eyes on Micklemore, just a few cars further back. He's now up and underneath Gary Wellman's rear bumper. Stephen Williams on one of the fresher sets of tyres. Car rejoining the track in front of the leaders.
I believe that might have been Kai Turner just coming in serving a penalty. But yeah, somebody coming in to serve their drive-through penalty, unfortunately, but that's all gone well. It's all gone clean, so that's the main thing. But Russell has pulled away. Gallagher has pulled away at the front again. Another great start for Hamish Gallagher. He is just mighty in these Xfinity cars.
Well, I mean, have a look at the way that he's setting up the restarts as well. He's making sure that when he goes green, he's as straight as he possibly can. So he's turning the wheel just slightly before straightening his car out, then coming back on the power. It's still tricky. You still can't get full throttle straight away, but he's doing the best possible job he can.
Yeah, he's doing a really nice job of it at the moment, and it has been a pleasure to watch Hamish Gallagher this and last season. Of course, last season champion, but this year he has just been taking this Xfinity car to another level. He is almost just he's one of those drivers that's almost untouchable. Meanwhile, just behind, it is so close as Wellman. Oh, Gary Wellman. Wellman and Micklemore
on the side of him.
Let's go back and have a little look-see at this one. So down the inside, Micklemore goes. Wellman's left a little bit of gap there, and then contact, big heavy contact there between those two cars. That was a big accident. Let's just go back and see that again.
Let's tell the story. Did Wellman get a bad run off the corner? I think he spun the tyres up. That's what's created the opportunity. Micklemore senses it. He's got to get past Wellman. He's got to get past there quickly. Locks up the inside front tyre. That's all she wrote for Wellman.
Yeah. That's a shame. It was one of those things, the gap was kind of there, did go for it, but just lost it in the mid-corner, and that's one of those things that will happen as well in this car, is, you know, that mid-corner just loses out on you, and the car just runs up. It's a little bit like sailing a ship sometimes, driving these cars.
Yeah, look, and I mean, critically, I just heard on the radio as well, Micklemore, as soon as he did it, jumped straight on the radio and says, "Look, buddy, I'm sorry, I got to be aggressive." Yeah, you know. Well, he didn't say, you know, I've got to be aggressive here, but Wellman straight away said, "Yeah, man, it's racing. Move on with it." That's what you want to hear from the drivers. Is there's no intent there. You can tell that Micklemore drifted a long way up the track, and that's not like Micklemore either. You don't see those kinds of moves from him, but he's got to get his race on a roll now.
Yeah, look, that's the thing, is, you know, the racing incidents will happen, and it is a natural thing of racing, but it's all how it's reacted to as well. If somebody gets on the radio and quickly says, "Look, sorry about that, my mistake," holds their hands up, or, you know, just quick little sorry, it's all it takes, and it changes your perspective of how things go. You know, and it is one of those things, when you're racing hard, you are racing hard. In the trucks, for instance, on Monday, I think it was myself and Billy Hickey, we had a little bit of contact. Nothing major, a little bit of netcode. Yeah. That's it. It is. It's just racing. And it's just simple enough. And, you know, it happens, and you have to accept it.
If there's one truism, one quote that floats around out there on the internet about short track racing, it's it's just short track racing. And that's what it is. You're gonna make contact. You cannot go to any short track and just expect to run a clean race. That just doesn't happen. You know, you're gonna come to grievance with somebody at some point. The thing is, if you have to race that guy again next week, if you have to race that guy, heck, if you just rub that guy and all of a sudden the caution that comes out, you get to reset, you're racing that guy again. You cannot afford to push that guy's patience. Why? When you're racing cars, you're relying on the patience of the drivers around you. You're relying on the sensibilities to respect the control that they have over their car. If you give anything to them that says, hey, you've taken something from me, I'm going to take something back from you, that driver is going to take something back from you. May not be now, may not be next week, could be 6 months from now.
It's very easy to make a list, and that list will be put on the dashboard of the driver, and eventually it will come back to pay you. Hamish Gallagher, you talk about damage on short track cars. Hamish Gallagher at the moment has barely a dent on that thing. It is absolutely looking pristine. Very much a clean looking car. Look from the front of Dave Douglas's car here, you know, not even a scratch on that wonderful realistic exhaust pipe there on the back of that Xfinity car. Totally not a sticker. As we go back to green flag racing.
That's it. Out on the outside once again, Jaden Russell left hung out to dry. Doesn't get the restart he's looking for. Dave Douglas does get it down in there. He's underneath him. Moves him up the racetrack and down and into. Is that Skurlock that he's got into?
It is.
A couple times there.
Skurlock, they bounced each other, ping-ponging off each other there. Jaden Russell. No caution, importantly. That is huge. That's a lot of cars caught in that, but there was not enough closing speed for that to cause a caution to come out. That has really changed things up for Jaden Russell. That really, really hurt him there. A lot of positions lost, but it's remained green, and that has really freed up people like Stevie Dubb. Stevie Dubb on fresh tyres now, sitting in 4th position. JCW now the only car out there, the next car on the old tyres with Dave Douglas and Hamish Gallagher. Josh Micklemore working his way up the field. This could be really important for the rest of this race. 86th lap of 115.
And I'm going to be honest, look, to be perfectly honest, Jaden Russell probably come down. You've got to squeeze guys here to prevent that overtake being made. How do you defend from the high side? You give them the minimum amount of room that they possibly can have, and that's what he's trying to do there. And he's pushed the line a little bit too far. That's racing.
It is. Gary Wellman just exiting pit lane, I think, for a drive-through penalty, unfortunately for him. So he's going to drop down a lap or two. As you can see there, Micklemore making that move now on JCW. Getting it done. Look at how close it is. He's going to try and get there. He's got to keep that car nice and low now on Stevie Dubb, gets it done. Down on the inside of the DPR machine of Stephen Williams there. Josh Micklemore moving up. Stevie Dubb tries to get it in as Ruben Phelps gets contact, saves that car somehow, and gets underneath the two of them. A great recovery there from Ruben Phelps, who looked like he was going to be spinning.
Oh, you spoke too soon. Don't talk about him. His rear tyres are still feeling the heat from that one. And all of a sudden, is that Christopher Finlay that's climbing through the field? He's going to have a crack at Stevie Dubb.
Yeah, now Ruben's got to just let those rear tyres cool down a little bit, like birthday cake candles at the moment. They're a bit too hot, but he is absolutely getting it stacked up. Matt Hunter moving up through the field as well. He's up there in P9, just getting past Stevie Dubb as well. Stevie Dubb just hemorrhaging positions. Meanwhile, up the front, it is Hamish Gallagher, Dave Douglas, Joshua Carroll Walden. They've managed to break away from that pack on the fresh tyres, importantly.
And critically, 25 laps now to go, Carl. The race has just flown by. We're in the latter stages of it. This is where the tyres of Josh Micklemore should really be making a huge advantage. But he's not really sort of closing in on the leader. He's just sort of matching lap times at this point in time. So the racing that he's had to do to get here, there's a spin in the background too.
Tristan Koch, I believe, maybe.
There it is.
And wow. Greg Spence. Oh, there we go.
Well, that changes things now because Micklemore had a lot of ground to cover. I don't think he was going to get there, and I think he knew he wasn't going to get there. So instead of pushing hard and trying to catch up a gap that he was never going to get, seeing the replay of the incident here, he was actually underdriving the car. That is critical. He recognised my only way to win this here with the current race situation is to get another caution. So why burn off my stuff if I'm going to need it when I get that caution?
Yeah, so Nathan Rollock going around there. Jaden Russell and Jaden Russell just locking up his front tyre and just catching the back of Rollock. And then, unfortunately, Greg Spencer has nowhere to go other than the side of that SRM machine. A big shame for them tonight. They're going to want a good one because it is their race sponsor tonight, of course, who is sponsoring us tonight for this race. I think I've said that about 6 million times in 6 different ways. So that's gone well. But yeah, Mobile Brake and Mechanical Repairs. Big thank you tonight for them sponsoring tonight's race.
Hey, what a race! What a race it's been so far as well. And for the guys that are out here and sponsor colours, I think they're getting their money's worth. Have you seen all the action that's happened out on track? I think they're going to need some mechanical services at the end of this one.
They are, and they've got a car running relatively high, as is often the case with Mr. Matthew Raymond, Matty Ray himself, the man that tends to start towards the back of the pack. He is slowly moving his way up through the field, as is often the case, and getting up into a good position at the moment. So watch out for him later in this race. He could be one of those cars that moves up and possibly gets up there into a good top 5 position in the latter stages of this race. Never discount Matty Ray.
Well, guys not to discount right now. They're thick and fast right in this lead pack. So Josh Mickelmore, freshest tyres, right? He's the freshest tyres up here. The next best tyres is Cade Donnelly, and he was cutting his way through the pack. He's up to P10, but he's running out of laps left to do things. As we cross the straight this time by, 20 to go. We're not going back green yet. There's going to be another caution here. I'd say we've probably got about 2 laps left of running right now before another caution maximum. Race is running out. Got to get your moves done.
Yeah, the race is it's quickly coming towards the end. It's been a hectic race, of course, but it has been an enjoyable one. We've had some really good racing as it has gone live, which is just what we want to see. Obviously, a few incidents which we don't want to see. We want to see this one running green as much as possible, but it is a short track, so it's kind of expected.
I mean, you came to Martinsville and you're expecting green flag from lights out to the other end. I don't know what to tell you. Pigs don't fly.
Oh, look, guaranteed, if we had said at the start of this broadcast, it's going to be a wreck fest tonight, it's going to be 100 cautions, we'd have had a green race all the way through, just so they could prove us wrong. But so far, it has been good, and it has been great from Hamish Gallagher, who is trying the no-stop approach with Dave Douglas and Joshua Carroll-Walden. Will it pay off for them? Josh Mickelmore and Ruben Phelps next in line. This is kind of useful for Ruben because that's going to let his rear tyres cool down, so that's kind of what he needed.
He's had an opportunity to blow out the birthday candles?
Yeah, blow out the birthday tyres.
Well, I hope he doesn't blow out a birthday tyre. That's going to look a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah, that's not a fun thing to do. Pace car comes in. When is Gallagher going to drop the car? When does he drop the loud pedal? He's waiting. He does it on the mid-corner, gets away nicely. Very nice start there from Hamish Gallagher. What about everybody else? Does they get away? Yes, they do. You see Scallop trying his best in the background with Christopher Finley. They are really racing hard at the moment in that mid-pack.
Ooh, Shea just got disqualified, so he's hit his incident point limit at this point in time, so he's now done. Now keep your eyes on what Mickelmore is going to do. We're under 20 laps left to go, so that's all she's going to sort of write. You got to be aggressive. Can't be patient. But remember, Mickelmore's had to fight through a host of traffic, and that's traffic that's not on the tyre quality of these lead drivers at this point in time. So he's had to fight tooth and nail, scrap to get his positions back. And look, I think he made the best possible position. He's lost no position compared to where he is now from when he made that pit stop, so it has, it's worked out pretty even. At the time he made it, he was on old scrappy tyres. They were not liking him very much, but now he's starting to struggle.
Yeah, look, he's not really gained a position, but he's not lost a position almost. Yeah. It's that sort of strategy. Meanwhile, Stevie Dubb and Matt Hunter having a good little fight on for P9 and 8 at the moment, with Matt Raymond just behind him and Cade Donnelly, with great battle going on a little bit further down the field as one of the SRM cars just comes out of pit lane. Meanwhile, up the front, it is Hamish Gallagher in the lead with Dave Douglas and Joshua Carroll-Walden. Josh Mickelmore, though, is much closer than he was before, but we're going to keep an eye on this battle in the mid-pack because this is where all the action is at. Look at Matty Ray trying to get a run on Matt Hunter right now. Gets down the inside, gets a good run here on the 14 48. Will he get the pass done? Looks like he might have this one secured.
Yeah, and I'm just hearing in. My spotter's just been going a little bit nuts for me at the moment. 3 drivers over the last 3 laps have been disqualified. Critically, Jaden Russell was among them, I thought.
I see Jaden Russell out on track still, so...
Well, I heard Russell, so I'm going to have a look for that one.
We'll keep an eye out on that one then. But currently still out on track, but it might be getting close to that limit point for him. As I just wanted to double check, yes, I am live, so that's good. All the billions of different things you have to do when you're producing. Always such fun. But it is Gallagher in the lead.
Huge incident over in turn 1 and 2.
Big check-up. Norman Clark involved in that one. Gary Wellman, Tristan Koch. And it's still green somehow.
I can tell you, I've got confirmation. Jaden Russell's been disqualified for an incident point limit.
Oh,
My word.
That is a big shame. So Raymond Yeager has been involved in this big accident, Norman Clark, so we'll just try and catch what happened here. I saw Norman Clark involved in it, so just going back to this replay. So what's happened in this one? Oh, it's Matt Hunter that's gone round. Matt Hunter's lost it in front of a big group of cars, and then there's that huge checkup of drivers, and they just managed to avoid that incident. But that's a real big shame for Matty Hunter. He was having a really good run up there in the top 10.
Yeah, well done to the whole big pack of drivers. They did amazingly to prevent that from getting any worse. That could have ended in disaster for a whole bunch of guys. Another caution. It's tricky.
Yeah, caution avoided there, which is great driving by them all. To actually avoid getting the caution flag then was really, really good thinking. So nicely done from then. Matt Hunter still on the lead lap though, so that's some good news for him. A little bit of good news, but yeah, he wouldn't have wanted that to happen. It's just one of those little mistakes, and look, easy enough to happen. Brad Fenley at the moment currently sitting in P11 just behind Christopher Finley. Quite a big gap there, so there's some big gaps forming towards the back of the pack, but up the front it is Hamish Gallagher leading, Dave Douglas in second, and this is where the fight's starting to happen. Josh Micklemore on a bit of a charge. Only a couple of laps to go. We're on 109 now. It's soon going to be 110. 5 laps to go here tonight at Martinsville.
Yeah, and he's, like I said, running out of time, but he had to look after those tyres. He had to back everything else up. But now we've had such a long green flag run. It's the guys on the older tyres. They're falling off a little bit, and, well, Micklemore's got the fresh stuff underneath him.
Yeah, Micklemore is in a really good spot at the moment. We'll try and catch this from Ruben Phelps' view for a couple of seconds as these laps take away very, very quickly here tonight. But you can see they're just catching up, but it is so hard to pass.
Have a look at the line that he's taking as well. Ruben Phelps is going to be really, really careful. Phelps is taking a line that gives him really good mid-corner speed, but Josh Micklemore's doing the diamond line. A little bit slower. Oh, what do you do now?
Matt Hunter, and the caution is out. Let's see what happened here. So it looks like Matty Hunter's just lost the rear possibly. Let's just see what's happened to the 48 here. Jamie Dan Curvis, was there a little bit of contact? No, he just catches the curb unfortunately there for Matty Hunter. Goes around, loops it into the wall, and that brings out the caution. 4 laps to go.
Yeah, what do you do now? Now, the critical factor, these guys up front, yeah, they've been able to run this long, but have a look at how much JCW was suffering at the back end of that run. His stuff is all about used up. Does he have enough fuel? You know, if we actually get some NASCAR overtime here, I think these guys actually might be in trouble on fuel.
Yeah, we've had a lot of caution laps. Let's jump on board with Hamish Gallagher, and let's have a little bit of a listen and a bit of a watch of the old tacho.
I get the feeling he shot that thing. No, there it is. We got RPM. That's critical. He's in first gear, so he's not worried about fuel.
No, he is not worried about fuel. What about Dave Douglas? Relatively low, he's sitting in a higher gear there. Definitely sitting in a much higher gear, so again, not too worried. JCW again, none of these guys seem too worried about fuel at the moment, so I think they're okay. I think these cautions have just allowed them to go the whole stint without having to worry about it.
Okay, well that's critical. They first and foremost, you got to get to the end. So they've now made the end in terms of the amount of fuel that they've got left over. However, should we get that green-white checkers, I wonder if they've got enough left over. Now, if I was in their position, save a little bit of extra fuel. Why? Yeah. In these cars, the fuel is actually next to no weight. They're big, they're heavy, they weigh a lot. So when you burn off a little bit of fuel, it's like instead of it, sorry, this is actually going to be the first and final green-white checkered caution.
Yeah.
So this is going into overtime. Don't have to worry about the fuel question mark now.
No. The only thing they have to be careful of is those rear tyres. Obviously, lighten the rear tyres off at the start. On those old tyres, they are going to be as slippery as a snake covered in grease with some extra lard on it.
I'm just going to go with the wet cucumber, but, you know... have you ever tried picking a slice of wet cucumber up off the bench? You can't.
It is very, very difficult. This is true. You do basically need to have a credit card on hand just to sort of leverage it up. Where else do you get cucumber tips other than here on Locked On Lads TV with Scotty Rankin and Carl Wilkinson with it.
Hello, and welcome to the cooking part of the ANZCAR broadcast.
It's been so long since we've had a cooking segment, Scotty. Oh no, great stuff.
Did you ever think when we came to a paperclip tonight that there was only ever going to be paper puns because you were severely disappointed? We've had
exactly. We've had so many different opportunities tonight. It's been great. It's been a very good night, and barely any paperclip puns included. Barely any paper puns. It is going to be a green-white checker, though, Scotty. For those that have never seen it before, what does that involve?
What that means is that the next flag that's not white will end the race. So the checkered flag will end the race, or the yellow flag will end the race. So you've got to get your positions straight away. We go green, we get a yellow flag, it's all over. I tell you what, he's gone early.
Gallagher gets away nicely there, runs away.
Oh! That'll be it. That's race over.
As the caution flag flies, and that is that. As Micklemore and Dave Douglas make contact. Let's just go back at that one and have a little bit of a look-see. We'll look from on board. Micklemore here just goes in hard here, just catches the back of Dave Douglas there, and that is that for the race. And that is going to be costly, and that really hurt Dave Douglas. A big shame for him.
Yeah, he's going to finish the night down at P14. He'll be annoyed with that. Josh Micklemore, I mean, he's at the end of the day, he came in, he pitted. He's going to finish one place further up from where he pitted, but that's not the way he would have want to earn it. That's not the Josh Micklemore style.
No, that's it. And I think maybe Douglas just having to break a little bit early on those old tyres caught Micklemore out. Looked like Micklemore just not expecting him to break there, and it really caught him out there, unfortunately. But that is race over and done with. And Hamish Gallagher is going to be coming across the line, and we'll be seeing that checkered flag flying. He is going to take the victory here tonight. It is Hamish Gallagher from start to finish, not even worrying about a pit stop tonight, getting the victory.
I'm just wondering, how Dave Douglas feels about that one. Does he feel aggrieved? I mean, I think he knows he's made a mistake. There's two ways to have a look at it. When you're in that sort of a position for where Dave Douglas is, he hasn't quite got the inside covered off. He's clear, but the car that's on the inside is going to break a little bit later. He can surge into the corner. He can go, he's going to get back up beside him. I think Dave needed to go deeper into the corner and basically commit to that outside line. I think he was trying to cut down and across the nose, cover both lines, and it's just ended in disaster for him.
Yeah, look, that was the defining moment of the race there, and it really cost him.
There's nothing in it.
I think that Micklemore might have actually got penalised for that, because I think Ruben Phelps has actually got up into P3.
Well, he is the birthday boy, and he's gotten the birthday gift.
So that's some good news for Ruben Phelps. Let's just quickly go back and have a little bit of a look at the restart from his point of view, because he was starting back there in, I think, 5th position. Good news for Ruben Phelps tonight. I just double check on yours timing and screen, Scotty.
Yeah, no, it has transferred over. So for those of you who are new to iRacing and the penalties system, this is a quirk. When you get a penalty within iRacing and you can't serve it, remember early on in the broadcast I said you have to serve it on a green flag? Well, the other thing is you can't actually serve it on the last lap of the race. Once that white flag comes out, you can't serve the penalty. It gets added to your post-race time. That's what's happened here in Micklemore's case. Is he's actually been demoted from the podium because he's got that penalty. It's a time penalty. It's generally about a 40-second penalty, but I'll have to have a look into that one.
Yeah, he dropped down to 16th position on my screen, and that has meant Ruben Phelps has moved up from way down at the back of the grid up into P3, the perfect birthday gift. Joshua Carroll Walden having a great run up in P3, but it is the man, the myth, the legend, the Taylor Swift fan himself, Mr. Hamish Gallagher, getting the win tonight in the 13.
What do you reckon? We call him H Swizzle or the G Swizzle?
Oh, look, it's, you know, Mr. Gallagher usually, but it depends on how his night is going. Alrighty, let us get this all set up. So what we will do is we will just grab up our third place finisher, Mr. Ruben Phelps, into the broadcast booth. First of all, we will go with a happy birthday, Mr. Ruben Phelps, and congratulations on a P3 tonight.
Yeah, cheers, fellas. It was, let's just say, a very eventful race, I can tell you, and you definitely would have seen a lot of action.
Oh, yeah, we saw a lot of action up here. First and foremost, how do you get a birthday cake to drop into your lap on the last lap of the race?
Well, I said to the boys, I'm not gonna get a birthday cake sitting in the victory lane at all, but I wasn't expecting to go and put it on a bloody podium table, so I might have to order a bunch of bloody cream cakes, and I think they're going to have to throw one in my face, I think.
I think, no, what you need is one of those Woolies mud cakes. I mean, that's just quintessential celebration here. And then you've got to throw it at a grandfather clock.
Yeah, exactly. That you can't beat that. Have the grandfather clock with a table full of bloody birthday cake. You know, what else do you want for snacks and beer or whatever else you want on that table? Maybe just, we won't go into other details. It might be a bit further adulty.
We might get taken off the air.
Look, Carl and I back together for 2 nights and we get taken off the air already. I mean, it's a little quick, but I was expecting it to happen at some point. Mate, look, in terms of pit lane strategy, you had to come down pit lane at some point tonight. Or did you? The 2 guys up ahead of you that did finish on the podium never made a stop. I mean, what was the plan going into this? Was it you were committing to a pit stop no matter what happened? Do you think you could have stayed the tyres to stay out there that long? Was it just too risky?
Well, I'd sort of done a similar strategy to the other night where I just stayed at the back of the field to keep out of the trouble. I pitted usually the second time by, so I kept the tyres on to about halfway, and there was a little incident at the back of the field where I think I'd lost the brakes a little bit and I had to avoid and hit the grass and spun back up the track. So that was where I went, nah, I'll get some new tyres and refresh, and that's where I think it was like lap 50 something, so I pitted about then and then just got all the track position from there on. There was obviously other incidents in between that I nearly lost it from, I think it was Josh and Steve Williams, and Skurlock got on the back of me, which strangely enough didn't give me an incident, but I skirted past all 3 of them, made it 3 wide coming off the corner, and just got all the track position from luck mainly.
Well, you say luck, but you make your own luck in motorsport, and you picked your lines perfectly tonight, working your way through. Obviously not the qualifying position you wanted, but I'm pretty sure a finishing position you're going to be pretty happy with.
Nah, qualifying was strategic.
Well, it worked out perfectly well for you tonight, Ruben. Congratulations on P3. Before I let you go, the usual thing of shout out and love to sponsors.
Well, I've got a shout out because this is the first time I've been able to actually mention it, but thank Momentum Esports, which is the first podium. How about that? The first ANZCAR podium for the year on my birthday. How about that? Makes the celebration even more sweeter.
It does indeed. It's great when things like that can happen, and finally you've got that podium for Momentum.
For sure. I've got to thank Tristan Koch and Brad Allison, even though he wasn't here tonight, and of course Jamie Van Curvis and the old Billy Hickey who's been sitting there, but he's just there for the listening to other things. But been a good race.
No, congratulations tonight, Ruben. Well done. Happy birthday again, and hopefully we'll get you back in the booth soon. Hopefully this will mean you've got some momentum in the future.
Yeah, that's the appropriate word for sure.
Cheers, Ruben.
Cheers.
A great race for Ruben there, Scotty.
Oh yeah, and I think he heard it. I think he's just happy, to see the other side of it. He would have been happy with P4, but I think he's absolutely on 3, so you can get it. Alright, time to move on one step further up the podium. It's time to have a quick chat here with the man known as JCW. It's Joshua Callan Walden.
Hello guys, how are we all?
Hey, look, I'm doing a little bit better than your pit crew. I think they're a little bit annoyed with you. You didn't come down to say hello to them at all tonight.
Yeah, man, yeah. Like, I was thinking before the race, you know, that, you know, a good opportunity would be to pit halfway to see if I can, you know, get some fresh tyres on the guys in front of me. But, yeah, man, like, the scenario didn't really come up, you know, if I'm honest. Like, I made a mess of qualifying and started 10th. And I was like, yeah, okay, it might be one of those nights. And then lap 10, I was 5th, and then I was running 4th for most of it. So, yeah, man, I just had too much track position to give up. So, yeah, it was a sticky situation tonight.
I mean, it was a bit of a sticky situation in towards the middle of that race. All the guys around you were battling extremely hard. I think we saw a mistake from Jaden Russell, and that sort of shuffled him back, and then he sort of had to pit for tyres there afterwards. So was it about minimising risk at all times? We were attempting to put the salt on towards the strong showing from Hamish Gallagher?
Yeah, like, I wouldn't say it's, you know, risk avoidance. I'd say it's just a bit of give and take was my approach tonight. Like, I wasn't really interested in, you know, getting into, you know, any big, you know, body contact events for position in the first half of the race. Like, you know, I was stunned how crazy the guys were going in front of me on lap 3. Like, it's 115 lap race, and even though damage, you know, isn't that big of a thing around here, you know, with a car that was as tight as it was tonight, yeah, it you know, it was still a thing. So yeah, I was just kind of preserving my car a little bit, and yeah, towards the end of the race, you know, I didn't really have the speed for Dave and Hamish. So yeah, I was just basically riding in third, hoping, you know, Dave was going to give Hamish a serve, and I'd possibly Bradbury my way to the win.
Well, you definitely Bradbury'd it up to second at least tonight, so it's almost went to perfection. You kept a solid drive out there, and you just sort of you did lose a few positions, but you gained them back at the end, which is the important thing. A strong finish tonight. It's not been the easiest season for you so far, but another strong finish and getting back on the podium must be a good feeling.
Yeah, it is, and yeah, it's around a short track, which, you know, I think it's the only one I haven't won at yet in ANZCAR. So yeah, and to add this onto 4th, I got on Monday night at the trucks, or 5th, sorry. Yeah, it's definitely a very welcome change of form, because yeah, you're right, you know, the start of the year has been quite difficult for me, and for me to net these, you know, results together, you know, it's just gonna build my confidence, and yeah, hopefully this flows on to tomorrow night in the Cup Series.
Well, a confident JCW is a fast JCW. We know that from the past, so we look forward to seeing that. Hopefully it will continue on. Before I let you go, of course, Joshy, the usual thing of shout out and love to sponsors.
Yeah, shout out to Norman. He had a difficult race being in the middle of the pack. He had to serve a drive-through right at the end there. Shout out to my teammates as well, Edward Foster and Daniel Heddersheet as well. Shout out to the team sponsors, AJD Australia and 44 Limited, and shout out to the rest of the admins, Matty Hunter, Dane G, and you, Carl. And yeah, shout out to you, Carl, and Scott for commentating this. I call it an event tonight. I wouldn't really call it a race.
This slight dash between flags.
Yes, the race of many restarts, and shout out as well to Locked On Lads for putting on some really good broadcasting of the Thunder Series so far this year.
No worries. Thank you so much, JCW. Hopefully we'll get to catch you back in the booth soon.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
And finally tonight, we will grab up our race winner, the number 13, the man that's basically got his own key to the booth these days. He's got his own seat in here as well. Hamish Gallagher, I would say welcome back to the booth, but you're hardly ever out of here these days.
Thanks, Carl. Yeah, no, it was we'll probably keep it quick. That wasn't a great race, I'm sure, to commentate. It wasn't a great race to be a part of, but hey, at least we got a result.
Well, you did get a result. You made your pit crew look pretty redundant tonight.
Yeah, that seems to be the way, eh? Like, I think Martin won the cup race here last year, never pitted, led every lap, started pole, led every lap. Harry Russ did it Monday, did an Xfinity, so... yeah, well, if we can't get more than 5 laps under green, that's just how it is. We reckon we had like a 20 or 30 lap run. We've seen a few more people pit and take tyres, and would have made the race interesting. But yeah, that's how it is.
He says a few more people pit and take tyres. There's only 3 of you that didn't.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was only yourself, JCW and Dave Douglas that did not take tyres tonight.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm guessing some people must have damage or something maybe, and they just got pitted.
No. So Jaden Russell had overheated his tyres at one stage, and Micklemore was sort of starting to go backwards because he'd overheated the rears. I think at one stage was struggling for traction off the corner, so he made a call of, look, I'm going backwards anyway. I may as well have a crack at it.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that. Oh, I knew Dosh did, but yeah. Well, that's interesting.
No, well,
most important question of the night, Hamish. We noticed the old T-swizzle on the dash there, so we were sort of having a debate. H-swizzle, G-swizzle?
No, definitely not.
Okay, G-swizzle in the future it is then. Look, you've been on such form with the Xfinity cars recently. Obviously tonight it wasn't the race we'd kind of hoped for, but it is another great finish for yourself in the Xfinity car.
Yeah, no, thanks, Carl. Yeah, Joe Russ has been racking up these wins. Had to try and fight back, but...
How hard was it as well? Because there was that little battle you had on one of those restarts. Jay Russ was right on your outside, and you were really having to defend hard. And it gave us some good action for a couple of moments there.
Yeah, no, it was good of it actually. Eh?
Yeah,
about the only thing that happened. But yeah, no, because once the car got quite tight later in the race, so you could sort of pin the guy down the bottom, but probably on the bottom wasn't actually the best place to be sometimes, especially on the restarts, because you had to like let out of the gas. Like you get in the gas and you have to lift off because the car would get tight and try to push up. So yeah, so I reckon if you'd been able to do that maybe a couple more cautions later, he could have probably got the lead. But yeah, unfortunately things happen. So yeah, that was a little bit of fun.
Unfortunately there. And just one last quick question: how much fuel did you have left in the old tank?
Oh, no idea. But we probably could have done twice this many laps, I think.
You've got enough for tomorrow's cup race then.
Yeah, that'd be about right, Carl? Yeah, right. I think because you did the truck race, eh? So,
yeah, we don't want to talk about that one. Yeah.
I tried getting him to talk about it.
Yeah, no, that was like a classic Martinsville race.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Take something that I heard you on the radio getting a bit animated. It takes something for you to get animated. So something not great must have happened.
Yeah. We'll just leave it there. No, look, congratulations tonight, Hamish. Well done indeed. Before I let you go, though, the usual thing of shout out and love to sponsors.
Yeah, no, big thank you to you boys doing the broadcast. Like I listened to the Locked On Lads podcast about the 1 year anniversary last weekend. That was really nice. Just well done to ANZCAR for putting this race on. Matty Hunter having to all the work he does.
It's going to be a busy night for him tonight.
Oh yeah, just like it was for Dan on the Monday night, unfortunately. Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't have to DQ anyone this time. It's no good when these boys getting DQ'd for their telemetry or whatever. That's so fun. Yeah. So hopefully everyone's got their telemetry all on tonight. But yeah, just big thank you to everyone in the team and Affinity Construction and Mad As Designs.
No worries. Look, I would say I'd hope to see you back in the booth soon, but I know I'll see you back in the booth soon. It's a given at this stage, Hamish. Congratulations again, and I'm sure I'll catch you back in a couple of weeks at least. Thank you so much, and keep yourself...
One more comment, Hamish. If you don't make it back into the booth, you know who to blame, don't you?
Oh yeah, the commentator's curse. Carl's like, he's got to come back.
Well, I got to try something to spice up things, you know. Cheers, Hamish. Keep yourself well, mate.
Thank you, guys.
Hamish Gallagher, the Mitch Motorsport, great victory tonight, and
The
that
G
is
Swizzle. The
Yeah.
G Swizzle.
G Swizzle indeed. And a great victory tonight, and always a class act. But yeah, tough race for everybody tonight. A good result. Let's just run through the finishing order if we can. So Hamish Gallagher took the win. Joshua Carroll-Walden in second. Ruben Phelps third. Fourth for Michael Skurlock. Fifth for Stevie Dabb. Kate Donnelly in sixth. Seventh for Maddie Raymond. Christopher Finley in eighth. Ninth for Raymond Yeager. Brad Fenley in 10th. Then we go down to Tristan Koch in 11th, Jamie Nankervis in 12th, 13th for Dave Douglas, Norman Clark 14th, 15th for Maddie Hunter, Josh Micklemore down in 16th, Nathan Rollock 17th, 18th for Wellman, Hickey 19th, 20th for Russell, Tompkins 21st, O'Shea 22nd, Spencer 23rd, Turner 24th, Dortnack 25th, Urquio 26th, 27th for Dylan, and Maxi Marshall 28th. So decent turnout tonight. Obviously, it's a tricky track, and look, we kind of expected it to be a bit of a rough one, but we did get some good racing out there in the end.
I don't think I'd even say in the end. I think, up and down the field throughout the evening, there was actually a lot of... The thing that really impressed me is normally when you come to Martinsville, you do expect the beating and banging. It's just part and parcel racing here. But what I did see was a lot of opportunities where things could have escalated, and in actual fact, they got de-escalated instead. So I'm actually really, really impressed by a lot of people. There's going to be a few drivers out there with hurt feelings, but if you come to Martinsville and you walk away and there's not a driver without hurt feelings, you kind of go, that wasn't a Martinsville race. So, look, great race all around. Probably a bit better than I actually expected. Great job all around.
No, absolutely, and we got some good stuff out of there. A big thank you to Scotty Rankin for joining me tonight in the booth, and welcome to the Locked On Lads team as well.
Wait, did you say thank you for joining you in the booth?
I did.
Are you sure you want to say thank you for joining me in the booth?
But look, I mean, it made it more interesting than me being here alone.
You've done it now, that's it, I'm coming back next week, you've done it.
Oh, damn it. Made a mistake. Look, see, my hope is you'll keep coming back and then I can sneak away. I've got to escape somehow.
Wilco's going to come back from holidays and you're just going to walk up to him, Carl, and just be like, Wilco, he's your problem now.
Yeah, that's it. Don't feed him after midnight. Don't get him wet. That's it.
Don't feed him at all.
Yeah,
don't anywhere near water. No
that's
water
it.
ever.
Yeah. So Wilco's problem from then on. Wilco, of course, on holidays at the moment. So you've got myself, the primary Wilkinson of the crew, of course, the best Wilkinson in Locked On Lads.
It gets better.
But we will be back next week, of course, at where are we next week? We are at Talladega, of course. So yeah, big one, Talladega, very different track indeed. Tomorrow night it is the Cup Series. Head over to ANZCAR on Facebook, of course, or over on Performance E-Streaming on YouTube, where we will be streaming it there. And we will be back next week for Locked On Lads at Talladega. Of course, there is also the Australasian E-Series on. You can catch them on their Facebook page. That will be on Sunday night, and that's their final round. And then, of course, Locked On will be broadcasting the rest of that season in the future. Don't forget the podcast coming up as well. So the Locked On Lads iRacing podcast will be dropped very shortly. You get to hear my dulcet tones once again. I seem to be everywhere recently. There is no escaping me, unfortunately. But that is it for this week. As I said, big thank you to Scotty Rankin for joining me. And